Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, am I audible?
Yes, Madhavi.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Today we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 24, verse 23 to 33. Narayam Namaskritya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashtaprayushu Abhatreshu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhakti Nashtaki. Verse 23. The sons of king became very much amazed when they heard vibrations from various drums and kettle drums, along with other orderly musical sounds pleasing to our ear. 24. The Prachetas were fortunate to see Lord Shiva, the chief of the demigods, emerging from the water with his associate. His bodily luster was just like molten gold, his throat was bluish, and he had three eyes, which looked very mercifully upon his devotees. He was accompanied by many musicians who were glorifying him. As soon as the Prachitas saw Lord Shiva, they immediately offered their obeisances in great amazement and fell down at the lotus feet of the Lord. 26. Lord Shiva became very pleased with the Prachitas. Generally, Lord Shiva is the protector of pious persons and persons' gentle behaviors. Being very much pleased with the princess, he began to speak as follows. 27. Lord Shiva said, "You are all the sons of King uh, Prachinvarhi, and I wish all good fortune to you. I also know what you are going to do, and therefore I am visible to you just to show my mercy upon you." Verse 28. Lord Shiva continued, and any person who is surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the controller of everything, material nature as well as the living entity, is actually very dear to me. Verse 29. A person who executes his occupational duty properly for 100 words became qualified to occupy the post of Brahma, and if he becomes very qualified, he can approach Lord Shiva. A person who is directly surrendered to Lord Krishna or Vishnu or unalloyed devotional service is immediately promoted to the spiritual planets. Lord Shiva and other demigods attained these planets after the destruction of this material world. Prabhuji, can you scroll down? Thank you. Verse 30. You are you are all devotees of Lord, and as such I appreciate that you are respectable as Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. I know in this way that the devotees also respect me, and I am dear to them. Thus, no one can be as dear to the devotees as I am. Verse 31. Now I shall chant one mantra which is not only transcendental, pure, and auspicious, but is the best prayer for anyone who is aspiring to attain the ultimate goal of life. When I chant this mantra, please hear it carefully and attentively. Verse 32. The great sage Maitreya continued, out of his causeless mercy, the exalted personality God Lord Shiva, a great devotee of Lord Narayana, continued to speak to the king's sons who were standing with folded hands. Text 33. Lord Shiva addressed the Supreme Personality of Godhead with the following prayer: O Supreme Personality of Godhead, all glories unto you. You are the most exalted of all self realized souls. Since you are always auspicious for the self realized, I wish that you will be auspicious for me. You are worshipable virtue of the all perfect instruction. You are the super soul, therefore I offer my obeisances unto you and the supreme living being. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madhavi. Hare Krishna. Yeah, Aradhya Madhavi, whenever you're ready, you can start, Madhavi.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Shivani Mataji, for reading the translations. Hare Krishna to all devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'm going to share.
Madhavi, your voice is coming very low for me.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I'm going to speak a little louder. Is it fine?
Sure, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, give me a minute. Just a second, okay? Is it a little better? Or no?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
try,
Okay.
Madhavi.
Okay. I will speak louder.
Yeah, sure, Madhavi.
Everybody can hear me. Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone. So this is chapter 24, as Shivani Mataji read all the translations from text 23 to 2033. And it's a wonderful long chapter chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva. In other words, it is the Rudra Gita in Srimad Bhagavatam, where in this chapter Lord Shiva is glorifying the Supreme Lord, glorifying Vaishnavas, glorifying Sadhu Sangha. So Lord Shiva is giving instructions through the prayers that he's teaching to Prachetas. And this is the sum and substance of chapter 24. And we also know that when you heard the translations, that Lord Shiva is going to give very, very important instructions to everyone through the medium of Prachetas. So just to recap, in text 16 through 32, the Prachetas meet Lord Shiva, and then you heard about 16 and 17, like the Vidura's questions to Maitreya. And then Maitreya Muni replies in text 19. And then from text 23 to 23, there is a description of the lake. So we are at 23, where you will see that the last verse where it describes the description of the lake. And what we see is that Prachetas became amazed hearing the attractive celestial songs. So in the purport from here, it's very self-explanatory. It says, the place where the Prachetas arrived was the abode of Lord Shiva. Impersonalists are generally worshippers of Lord Shiva, but Lord Shiva is never without variety in his abode. Thus, whenever one goes, whether to the planet of Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu, or Lord Brahma, there is variety to be enjoyed by persons full in knowledge and bliss. So that's just a description of that. In text 24 to 25, Lord Shiva appears to them, and they saw Lord Shiva with a golden complexion, bluish throat, and 3 eyes, along with his associates. And just to know, who are his associates? Like Lord Shiva's associates, like they are the denizens of the higher planets, known as Gandharvas and Kinnaras. And then they all emerge from the lake, and they offer their obeisances. And just to know that, and then the purport, it also says that those Gandharvas and Kinnaras, like they are very expert in some of the things which are like musical, they're expert in musical science, and they worship Lord Shiva constantly. And Lord Prabhupada says that Lord Shiva is generally painted white, but here the description says his color is different, which is not it's not exactly white, but like gold or glowing yellowish color. And it also talks about how Lord Shiva is Ashutosh, which is Ashutosh means he's merciful. He's always and very, very merciful amongst all demigods. And he can be pacified by any class of men. And how do we please Lord Shiva? Just by offering him leaves of a bale tree. And he's Ashutosh because he's pleased very quickly. And as we know that Lord Shiva is the father of the material world. And since he is very merciful, he quickly awards whatever blessings the devotee ask of him. For Vaishnava, we always ask Lord Shiva to protect our bhakti in Krishna consciousness, whereas demons take advantage of his leniency, and sometimes they take benediction that would harm others. And in Srila Prabhupada gives an example of Vakrashur. He took a benediction from Lord Shiva, and so that, like, if he touches, he could kill everybody. And Lord Prabhupada says that although Lord Shiva sometimes very liberally gives benedictions to his devotees, the difficulty is that demons, like, they are very cunning, so they take advantage, and then they experiment things improperly with such benedictions. And then Srila Prabhupada also says in the purport that after receiving his benediction, which is Vakrashur, he tried to touch the head of Lord Shiva, but Prabhupada says that devotees of Lord Vishnu, meaning devotees of Lord Krishna, we have no such desires for such benedictions, and Lord Vishnu does not give his devotees benedictions which would cause disturbance to the whole world. So in this purport, what we learn is that noble people work not only for their benefit, but for others' welfare too. So as genuine well-wishers of all, and like Srila Prabhupada, he selflessly extended himself to serve others, to the entire world. Srila Prabhupada even sacrificed his own comforts for others' benefit, so same as like all the Vaishnavas who are like genuine well-wishers of others, they sacrifice their own comforts for others' benefit. And also, like, want to give the best example that we can think of is, like, since we are reading about Lord Shiva, that the best example of such a benevolent benefactor of the world is Lord Shiva. We also know about the Samudra Manthan, story where the first product of churning appeared was extremely poisonous, extremely dangerous poison called halal. And when Devatas approached for his help, meaning when they went to Lord Shiva, he, without thinking about himself, he drank the poison, just to keep it short. So we also see that selfless devotees cannot bear the suffering of others, but take up hardships to relieve others from difficulties. So when we are practicing Krishna consciousness, if you feel happy when others are in pain, then you need to introspect and start practicing Krishna consciousness properly. We are approaching text 26. So in this, so here it says Lord Shiva was pleased with Prachetas because of their knowledge of dharma and their good conduct, and that's why he spoke to them. And then in text 27, in text 27, Lord Shiva is why he's merciful to Prachetas, and we'll refer to the purport because there is. So why is Lord Shiva pleased? Because the purport says that the fact that they were going to worship Lord Vishnu by severe austerities and penances. And because of that, Lord Shiva is the greatest devotee of Lord Vishnu. He became very pleased with them. And then Srila Prabhupada says that this indicates that a person who is not yet a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but who desires to serve the Supreme Lord, receives the benedictions of the demigod, headed by chief demigod Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva is the chief demigod, and then if you you will see in the other purports that if you please Lord Vishnu, all the demigods are already pleased. And then in the further it says, thus the devotee of the Lord does not need to try to please the demigods separately. Simply by worshiping the Supreme Lord, a devotee can please all of them. Nor does he have to ask the demigods for material benedictions, for the demigods, being pleased with the devotees, automatically offer him everything that he needs. The demigods are servants of the Lord, and they are always prepared to help a devotee in all circumstances. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada, therefore, Srila Bilva Mangal Thakur said, if one has unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Lord, the goddess of liberation is ready to serve him, to say nothing of the gods of material opulences. Indeed, all the demigods are simply waiting for an opportunity to serve the devotee. Thus, there is no need for a devotee of Krishna to endeavor of material opulence or liberation. By being situated in the transcendental position of the devotional service, he receives all the benefit of dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So basically, what we need to gain from here is, before coming into Krishna consciousness, a lot of us were worshiping other demigods, but now that we have the understanding that just by worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the demigods automatically become pleased. So we don't need to go to them separately for, oh, I need this for that, and I need this. I need to go to this demigod for this, for my such desire. So, Srila Prabhupada clearly says, if you worship Lord Shiva, if you worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all demigods, including the chief of the demigods, which is Lord Shiva, get pleased. Text 28. This is the purport of the day to read. It's a long purport. So Lord Shiva here says that anyone who is completely surrendered to Vasudev, the controller of everything, is actually very dear to me. Basically, Lord Shiva is Krishna's devotees are dear to me. In the purport, from here, I'm going to say something from here. So Srila Prabhupada says that how even with demigods, you don't see them all the time. They are rarely seen. So Lord Shiva is rarely seen by common men, and similarly, a person who is fully surrendered onto Vasudev, Krishna, is also very rarely seen, because a person who is fully surrendered onto the Supreme Lord is very rare. So they say that, not everybody gets to see Lord Krishna, even if you endeavor so hard, but pure Vaishnavas like Srila Prabhupada, they see Krishna, so it's very rare. And further it says that consequently Lord Shiva came especially to see Prachetas because they were fully surrendered onto the personality of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudev. So when can you see the Lord? Or we have to, it'll come later in the purports, but we have to be very pure in our dealings. We have to be very, our devotional, when we perform devotional service, we have to be, it has to be unalloyed, unmotivated, you know. So that way Krishna would be pleased. Further in the purport, it says, since Vasudeva is the ultimate truth, Lord Shiva openly proclaims that one who is a devotee of Lord Vasudeva, who is surrendered to the Lord Krishna, is actually very dear to him. Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, is worshipable not only by ordinary living entities, but by demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and others. So, yeah, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, is worshipped by everyone. And we don't need to separately please Lord Shiva. If you're a devotee of Krishna, he's already automatically pleased, as we saw in the previous verse. So basically, Lord Shiva is completely is very satisfied with those who are completely surrendered onto him. And then Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita at 1866, Sarva Dharma Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. And repeatedly, like in the purports, Srila Prabhupada repeatedly says that like whoever surrenders unto Vasudeva is very, very dear to him, meaning we're very, very dear to Lord Shiva. And it's expressed here openly. The conclusion is that a devotee of Lord Shiva is not dear to Lord Shiva, but a devotee of Krishna is dear to Lord Shiva. So we saw it repeatedly in the purports too. And that's the purport of the day, so you can read it in detail. In text 29, it talks about how the Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu are attained. So it says, whoever executes his occupational duty for 100 births become eligible for promotion of Brahmaloka, the planet where Lord Brahma lives. And then there's also, this is a category like how to achieve all those planets. And there's also a planet called Shivaloka or Sadashivaloka, which is situated in a marginal position between the spiritual and material world. If after being situated in Brahmaloka, one becomes more qualified, and then he's promoted to Sadashivaloka. And then similarly, when one becomes even more qualified, he can attain Vaikuntha Loka. Vaikuntha Loka is the target for everyone, even the demigods, and they can be attained by a devotee who has no desire for material benefit. It's in the purport, it says that from the Bhagavad Gita at 8.16, that one does not escape material miseries, even if he's elevated to Brahmalok. And similarly, one is not very safe, even if he's promoted to Shivaloka, because the planet of Shivaloka is marginal. And then, however, if one attains Vaikuntha Loka, he attains the highest perfection of life, and the end of evolutionary process. So our goal is to attain where Lord Krishna is, and not endeavor for other lokas. Text 30. In this word, Lord Shiva says that the devotees who are Bhagavatas are dear to me as the Lord himself. And the devotees also consider Lord Shiva as dear to them as Lord himself. As you can see, like repeatedly, like there's a main theme of Lord Shiva is being telling that if you're dear to Lord Vishnu, you're dear to me. You don't do it separately. This purport is very wonderful because so everybody can understand. So I am going to slowly so everybody can pay attention. It is said that Vaishnavanam Yathash Sambhu, Lord Shiva is the best of all devotees. Therefore, all devotees of Lord Krishna are also devotees of Lord Shiva. And you probably, all of you may have seen that there is a temple called Gopeshwar Mahadev. And then the gopis used to worship not only Lord Shiva, but Katyayani or Durga as well. But what was their main? To ultimately achieve Lord Krishna, the favor of Krishna. And then in the purport, it also says that the Krishna conscious devotee does not disrespect Lord Shiva. And we worship Lord Shiva as the most exalted devotee of Lord Krishna. And then, as I said before, that whenever a devotee worship Lord Krishna, devotee of Krishna worship Lord Shiva, they pray to Lord Shiva to achieve the favor of Krishna. And then he does not request material profit. In Bhagavad Gita 7.20, it is generally said that generally people worship demigods for material profit, driven by material lust. They worship demigods. But a Krishna conscious person, they never do that. They are never driven by material lust, and that is that's why the Prabhupada says that's why there is a difference between a devotee and asura, a demon. And as we even saw in the previous purport, that asura worship Lord Shiva for some benediction from him, and then misuse them, but devotees don't do that. Furthermore, because Lord Shiva is a great devotee of Supreme Personality of Godhead, he loves all the devotees of the Supreme Lord. And then Lord Shiva told the Prachetas that because they were devotees of the Lord, he loved them very much. And that's why he appeared, And then Srila Prabhupada said, rarely demigods or the Supreme Personalities, Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared. And then because the Prachetas, they were devotees of the Lord, Lord Shiva appeared. Lord Shiva was not kind and merciful only to the Prachetas. Anyone who is a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very dear to Lord Shiva. Not only are the devotees dear to Lord Shiva, but they respect them as much as he respects the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, devotees of the Lord also worship Lord Shiva as the most dear devotee of Lord Krishna. They do not worship him as a separate personality of Godhead. You see the theme here. So as we know that there are 10 offices of the holy name, and in one of the Namaprad is that it is an offense to think that the chanting of the name of Hari and chanting of Hara or Shiva are the same. And Srila Prabhupada is clearly saying that devotees always know that Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that Lord Shiva is his devotee. And then a devotee should be offered respect on the level of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and sometimes even more respect. And then Srila Prabhupada also says that Lord Rama, the Personality of Godhead himself, sometimes worship Lord Shiva. If a devotee is worshipped by the Lord, why should a devotee not be worshipped by other devotees on the same level with the Lord? And that is the conclusion. And then, so here, Lord Shiva blessed Asuras simply for the sake of formality. And repeatedly, it's also said that actually, Lord Shiva loves one who is devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So basically, worship the fountainhead, which is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all the demigods will be pleased, including Lord Shiva. So it's a repeated theme in these 10 verses. In text 31, so from here, we are approaching Rudra Gita. And in this verse, Shiva says, he will give the best prayer, which is the ultimate goal of life. Sorry, we are past time, but I'm almost done. In text 32, it talks about the great sage Maitreya continued, out of his causeless mercy, the exalted personality of Lord Shiva, a great devotee of Lord Narayana, continued to speak to the king's sons who were standing with folded hands. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that when a mantra is chanted by a great devotee, the mantra becomes more powerful. So we are all given the Hare Krishna mantra from our Guru Maharaj, and which itself, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which itself is very powerful. But when a disciple receives upon their initiation from their spiritual master, and then that mantra is chanted on their beads by their spiritual master, it becomes more powerful, and then, so Lord Shiva advised the sons of the king to hear him attentively, for inattentive hearing is offensive. So here's the lesson. Like when you're hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, you have to be attentive. And Lord Shiva is also going to speak the Rudra Gita. He's telling them to pay attention and not be inattentive. So text 33 to 68 is the Rudra Gita. And then text, so in text 33, so Lord Shiva is glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's saying, oh Supreme Personality of Godhead, all glory unto you. You are the most exalted of all self-realized souls. Since you are always auspicious for the self-realized, I wish that you be auspicious for me. You are worshipable by virtue of all perfect instructions you give. You are super soul, therefore I offer my obeisances unto you as the supreme living being. So here Shiva is addressed Lord as the only Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Lord, in the purport it says, Lord Shiva never desired to merge into existence of the Supreme Lord like the impersonalist. Rather, he thinks that it would be good fortune for him to continue to be fixed in understanding of the Lord as the Supreme Being. Srila Prabhupada says that just by this understanding, one realizes that all living beings, including Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and other demigods, are servants of the Supreme Lord. So we saw that same theme again and again, So in concluding remarks, I would like to say that we may not be able to mirror Lord Shiva's selflessness and benevolence, but we can get inspiration from him, and we can surely begin cultivating selflessness in our hearts. And when we practice Krishna consciousness, it's very important that we are kind, selfless devotees. So tomorrow you will hear more glorification from Lord Shiva to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And today's purport of the day's text or purport is text 28. And with this, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aradhya. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hari Om.